Hello, 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 governors. Welcome to Osiris League Season 7 Finals Game 1. I am your host, Pilato Gaming, content creator and caster for Rise of Kingdoms, and the match that we will be spectating today is from the realm of Sobek at W34 from Kingdom 2934 versus Kingdom 2975 in the Alliance 75 DC. So the finals are actually different than the other matchups that we've been watching so far, different from the round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, because both teams will be fighting against each other in a best of 3. And for a best of 3, that means whoever wins 2 games first, so 2 out of the 3 games, potential 3 games, is the Season 7 Realm of Sobek champions. So we will have multiple games against these teams, at least 2 games. If it's a 1-1 scoreline, there will be a deciding 3rd game. So it should be very, very interesting. Let us go into the bracket just to see what exactly we will be looking at here. We have at W34 beating out 65 AC. This is a game that we watched last week. We spectated last week. And this was such a close game. At W34 has been pretty dominant. At 3.6 billion power. Huge amounts of power, especially for a realm like Sobek, the youngest realm out of all of them. Having 3.6 is a very, very big amount of power. A lot of T5s, a lot of VIP 18s. And they actually got pushed against 65 AC with, really good strategy. Really close game, down a billion power. So yeah, they were able to kind of get, tested. As for 75 DC, if we look at their matchup so far, they've been very, very dominant in terms of the closest game being 14.1k to their 57.4. So we will have to see if Dynastic Conquerors can continue on their dominance, or if at W34 was able to learn something from their very close game against 65 AC, and kind of, fill in the blanks, fill in the cracks that 65 AC was able to find. So should be a very, very close game. Powers are very close as well. 3.2 billion power to 3.6, so there shouldn't be too much of a power disparity that we saw in the matchup from last week against at W34, as well as this matchup over here at 2.4 billion power. These opponents have been, or these 2 teams have been able to kind of strong arm the other teams due to the amount of power that they have. But now that they're going against each other, this should be a very, very good matchup between the 2. So one thing though, if you are new to the realm of Sobek and watching the realm of Sobek, it is the newest, as I said, newest realm in Rise of Kingdoms, meaning that they are not using SOC commanders, rather they are using pre-SOC commanders. So the Alexes of the world, the Saladins, the Ethelfleds. You will see a lot of old school commanders because that's all that they have available to them. Wu-Zetian's a very popular garrison. We saw Charles, we saw Constantine, so we will be able to see, kind of have a throwback for all of us older players, all of the different commanders that were used in KVK2 and KVK3. So it'll be really interesting to see these 2 teams duke it out. In Sobek, you usually have this big power disadvantage between the 2 teams, but these 2 teams are very, very much even. So it should be an amazing matchup between the 2 of them. I think the biggest thing that we saw in Sobek is that, teams are new and the players are newer than, most teams. So most other realms. So I think it's really dependent on experience and as well as coordination between these 2 teams, especially with the commanders that they have available. Because it's such a smaller pool of commanders, how you use those commanders and kind of the placement of your marches is just so much more important. And just being able to rotate mid at the right time, being able to rotate to structures at the right time, and kind of controlling the pace of the game is so important. And we'll have to see if Dynastic Conquerors or Meet a New World will be able to control the pace. And I think whoever controls the pace, whoever controls this mid fight, whoever could hold the structures will definitely be advantaged. So let me just get into the game real quick here as we start going in. Okay. All right. Playoff finals. Game 1. Best of 3. And here we go. So, it does look like at W34 is favored at 78.3%. But 21.7% for 75 DC. So there are some believers of 75 DC. I saw some of them in the chat earlier. So it should be a pretty highly contested match. Very high powers from the opening players here. You kind of want to be at that 90 mil power for Sobek, just so that you have enough T5s to field your marches. And it looks like most of these players are at that mark, which is very impressive for around this age. Is this actually Pho? Oh, Pho's in 75 DC. Okay. And then we got at W34. It looks like they have a lot more 80 mil power players. They've got a 67 mil, but we got a 70 mil, but they also have a lot of these high power, 142 power, for example, million power, for example. So yeah, honestly, the power disadvantage, I don't really see too much of a disadvantage for both teams. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the open field turns out, because for in terms of power, it tends to be the open field. It tends to be, you could kind of see the difference in the open field marches. So 43 seconds until gates open. We will be looking for the opening sentries. We'll also be looking for the opening rallies. And we'll also be looking at the obelisks. We'll have to see if they actually contest, a team decides to contest an obelisk early. Because if you get your obelisk taken early, it's going to be super detrimental to the rest of your game plan. We'll have to see. I expect to see a lot of double C speed marches coming out in 10 seconds here. Put in the chat who you are supporting, at W34 or at 75 DC. Hidden sentry used. Let's see where they place the sentry. So 75 DC placing the sentry in between the Shrine of War and the Sky Altar. Super fast march coming in, going to the outposts. Let's also check the rallies here. We see 2 outpost rallies and 4 obelisk rallies coming from at W34. Similarly, 75 DC also having 2 outpost rallies and 4 obelisk rallies. We'll have to check if those rallies are going to be cavalry rallies or if they're infantry rallies. Usually if they're cavalry rallies, that means that they're contesting the obelisk. If they're infantry rallies, that means that they're going to be trying to defend or contest the desert altar. Let's check the composition of these rallies. We got double C's, okay. And then this is an infantry rally. Is this? Oh, it is a double C. Interesting. There we go. We got the infantry rally coming out. Obelisk takes being faster for 75 DC. We'll have to see if that give them any dividends. Being able to teleport a little bit faster. Let's see where the desert altars are. where the marching to the desert altars are at. Oh wow. I think 75 DC might have a positioning advantage for this desert altar. We'll have to see. Let's see. For their own desert altar. Yeah, it looks like 75 DC. This is a T1 march, but these are T5? So it does look like they have the positioning advantage if you compare where their opponents are and where their defense is to this. Okay, they tried to cheese the obelisk with a T1 march, but they did have a garrison. Yeah, look at this. Prince Kai. Super fast to this desert altar. We'll have to see what they choose to do here. It looks like I'm going to just call them 34 and 75. It looks like 34 is choosing to engage into this. And yeah, 75 have to back off, wait for the rest of their team. But there you go. 75, I believe, in this situation, actually have a numbers advantage. We'll have to see if they have the reinforcements for this, as it does look like 34 have more reinforcements coming in, but at least for this initial fight, 75 should have the advantage. As altars are opening in 80 seconds. You see YSG primary, a lot of Alex's, a lot of Genghis Khan, Minamoto's, Saladins, El Cid's. El Cid's for the march speed for archers, I guess, is pretty good. Wu Zetian garrison in the back here. There we go. Now we got a couple people coming from 75. Let's go see this bottom desert altar and how that fight is transpiring. It looks like 34 actually have a numbers advantage here as well. Interesting. So 34 is actually wrapping around 75, making 75's murder ball be in the middle, which is exactly what you want to do, because the AoE going towards the middle compared to going outside where you only hit a crescent, you hit way more things with AoE. For YSG, it might not matter because it's circle AoE, but for Ethelfled, or commanders of that don't have, you know, the full circle, positioning is so important. As the desert altar has opened, 75 taking their own desert altar, which is huge, but they actually were able to get first tap on 34's desert altar. We'll see if they're able to hold this, but if they are, this is going to be super detrimental to at W34. If 75 is able to hold this for another 2 minutes 30 seconds, it's going to be so many first capture points, but it does look like 34 is able to swarm it down. It does look like 75 do not have the troops to fill this desert altar. Oh, wait, there you go. Someone was able to fill it. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes is a tall task, but they do have reinforcements coming in. If you're if you're a yellow or a white march, you definitely want to be stuffing this desert altar if possible. 100%. At least delay the point generation for 34 here. And that's exactly what they're doing. Huge stuff from 75. Oh, wow. As soon as it's about to go low, they just have another march keep going in there. I thought this was going to be impossible, but 1 minute 30. Oh, there's a lot of 34 reinforcements here, so it's about to fall. And there's not enough 75 marches. They were not able to get first occupation, which was giving them 750 points, but they delayed the altar for 2 minutes, so that's 300 points per minute. 300 points per minute denied, or 300 points denied of 34 here. And they have a YSG garrison. Wait, the YSG is getting so low. Oh, they got the Wuzeti on there in time. So it does look like 34 was able to retake, and it looks like they'll be able to hold this push. Let's go see the 75 Desert Altar. 75 Desert Altar is so low and there's no troops around it. Will the reinforcements here get in time? Are you going to go into the Desert Altar here? Ooh, you 100% want to get into that Desert Altar if you can, if you're not the garrison. But maybe they are the garrison. And there is a CPO going in, so they do have the filler marches. There you go, 75 able to hold on to this Desert Altar. Huge stuff from them for sure. If you're new to Osiris, the altars are the most important structure because they give the most points. They give 150 per minute, and they also give a lot of first occupation. We'll be able to see the difference of the scores through first occupation in a bit. As you can see, 3.4k to 900 points. So, really, really good stuff from 75. I think they're winning. I would say they're winning the early structure game. As we see someone swarming down the obelisk about 4 minutes before Arc spawns. A lot of people rotating mid. Looks like they are swarming down the Edward rally. Another Edward rally going out to the Shrine of Life. This Shrine of Life, it looks like it's actually in trouble here. But the rally is getting pretty low here. If they're able to kill the rally and then fill with these troops, the Shrine of Life should be pretty safe. The rally goes down. Shrine of Life still getting pretty low though. I think there's too many marches for these guys to clear out here. Oh, there you go. The march swap. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Moving out your low march so that you could fill it with a higher health march. The shrine looks pretty safe. Wait, it is going down. The shrine is going down. Because you can only fill it with one march per person. So, shrine goes down. Desert Altar here, though, looks like it's going to be taken yet again. So, denying even more points per minute to 34. The reinforcements were not able to get there in time. Let's see if mid is anything's transpiring mid. Both teams taking aggressive positions here. It looks like there is one player just whittling down the marches as they go mid. So, in terms of structures, I would say 75 is winning. If you check points per minute, 110 points per minute to 300. So they're slowly creating an advantage here, making a situation where if 34 doesn't win this mid fight, they're going to be in a very, very tough situation. As 75 uses Dust Up, 34 using Total Vision, 75 using Total Vision as well, and 34 using Dust Up. So both teams using Dust Up and Total Vision, even in terms of skills here. Let's check the dots. Ooh, it's looking pretty even. Sad Face is looking pretty even as well. Although I am seeing more 34 sad faces now. Arc spawning in less than a minute here. So let's check the murder ball. Usually what I like to see is whoever has a more crescent shape tends to be winning the murder ball fight. But it looks like both of these teams are sticking to a ball formation here. But I like that there's more 34 marches in the back here. The marches in the back for 34 is actually proving to be pretty problematic for 75. 20 seconds left until Arc spawns. Who do you think will win this arc? A lot of 75's murder ball is back here. You want them to be pushing into the 34 murder ball. Arc has spawned. Whoever gets first tap, it's 50-50. Whoever gets first tap will have control of this arc. Oh, it actually looks like 75 is getting cleared a little bit here. No, not 75, 34 rather. And look at that, 75 was able to get first tap. A huge pull from Daniel, pulling it over to 75's side, making it super hard for 34 to contest. So 75 won the open field, they won the mid fights, and they're able to get the pull. It looks like it's a pretty safe. So 75 winning the structure game and winning mid here. Huge stuff from them. 75 DC in the early game lead for sure. We'll have to see if 34 has a plan to reacquire this arc, or if they're going to try to stabilize their structure game, as they are still losing points per minute even though they lost a mid fight. I like the extra marches that they have around here, just making sure that the arc carrier is going to be safe. It looks like the arc carrier is going straight to the outpost, which I don't recommend. But if you want, this is the fastest way to capture the arc, as they will be there in 1 minute. However, if the opponent captures the captures the outpost, and you don't have anywhere to capture the arc, you're kind of in a sticky situation. Because if the opponent is able to kill the arc carrier, there's a lot of steps. If they're able to kill the arc carrier, capture the outpost, and steal the arc, the outpost is where most arcs are stolen. Especially because there's only 500k people that could be garrisoning an outpost at a time. So it's not impenetrable. But it looks like 75 will be able to take this arc for free. But usually the safest place is in your own cities. You can walk into a city and capture the arc, and the opponents do not have the chance to walk into a city. So 75 able to capture the arc super fast, demanding double the amount of points that at W34 has at 10.3 to 5.1k. So 75, huge stuff from them, big lead. And they won arc, but they also held their own structures. So 34 wasn't able to make an advantage anywhere on the map here, which is huge for 75. This next arc is do or die for 74. I mean, for 35. 70 for 34 rather. 75 really in the driver's seat here. Honestly, they could just try to play structures. They could pick and choose. They could just choose to go structures, win that way. They could just send all mid, win that arc, and win that way. Their point lead is ginormous for this time in the match, but we still have 40 minutes left, so we'll have to see what 34 has in the bag here. We see the Thutmose YSG rally going into this Desert Altar. Desert Altar actually getting pretty low here. This Thutmose is shredding this Wu Zetian. Wow, they're trying to storm down this rally, but I don't know. Do they have enough reinforcements for this Desert Altar? Will the Desert Altar fall yet again for W34? Look how low it is. I think it's about to fall. Oh, last minute reinforcements. Do they have enough people to reinforce this rally and swarm it down? It looks like they do. 75 yet again taking the Desert Altar, creating even a bigger points per minute gap between them and 34. Huge stuff. Let's see how their own Desert Altar is doing. Wow. 34. It looks like they will be able to trade Desert Altars here, which is a good step for 34, but if you're down, you do not want to be trading objectives. You want to be gaining the points. 75 still having the points per minute advantage, even with them losing their own Desert Altar. But there are a lot of units around this Desert Altar for 34. Sky Altar is getting contested by 75. It looks like 75... they're just relentless in their assaults, in their pursuits of these altars. Every single altar of 34 is always under contention. And as I said, this is the most important structure for points because it gives you 150 points per minute, which is the most in the game for a structure. Altars, I believe, give you 150. Shrines give you, I believe, 80. And then outposts give you 30 each. So for all three outposts, it give you 90. As it looks like the Sky Altar will hold with the Richard Garrison. Looks like 75 was able to capture the Desert Altar. This is something I saw from last game too with 34. They have a lot of healthy marches around here, but... well, they have a couple healthy marches, but their opponents are still able to take the structures. So march swapping, not really a strong suit for 34. Meanwhile, 75, they don't have that much open field, but they're still able to get their marches in here, keeping this garrison topped off, which is exactly what you want to do here. The closer you are to full as a garrison, the more damage you do. So you want to try to keep your garrison in KVK, and especially in Osiris League, filled to the brim as much as possible. As 75, I mean, the Desert Altar, it looks like it is going down. It is getting lower. As it looks like 34 was able to recapture their own Desert Altar as well. So points per minute should be stabilized, actually in favor of 34. Which is exactly what they need to come back from this 5k deficit in terms of points. As we see, the altar is... oh, the altar getting reinforced yet again. Wow, huge stuff from 75 here. Look, they're even backing off. They're resetting for mid here because mid is happening in 3 minutes, and 75 having huge positioning advantage against 34. 34 trying to stabilize their structures, but they compromise their mid positioning. They had a bunch of marches, you know, retaking their altar, taking over this Desert Altar, trying to defend the Sky Altar, which actually dropped to where they lost the ability, the opportunity to actually get mid positioning here. So 75 having huge control of this match and huge control of this potential arc fight happening in 2 minutes. Arc spawning in 2 minutes. As we see 34 having some marches, trying to whittle down the marches, going towards mid yet again. But yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for 34 to push into. Let's see what structures are getting contested right now. The Sky Altar is going to drop, but look how many marches are in this outer lane. All of these marches, which is around 10 marches, will be irrelevant for this mid fight. So 75 only have about 4 marches out in the open field, 3 marches. Dust Up used by 34. Are they going to dust up used by 75 in response. So skills used, but yet no mid fight as of yet. They have a lot of units here, a lot of marches dedicated to holding their altars here. So 34 trying to stabilize and hold off the structure game, but they're still losing in points per minute in terms of their structures. To the death used by 34. So 34 going all in this mid fight. Or at least they're trying to. Here you go. This is the push. 30 seconds until Arc spawns, though. They're going to have to push fast here. We need AoE. Yes, indeed you do. 25 seconds until Arc spawns. Let's see. Ooh. Is 34 able to get the wrap here? 75 using Heaven's Grace. So, Heaven's Grace versus To the Death. The difference in this mid fight. If that's the case, 75 should win in terms of skills. But in terms of positioning, Arc has spawned. Who got first tap? Let's see. Ooh, 34 getting first tap here. That's huge for them. Let's see where this Arc is. It's in the bottom. It was dropped, but at least it was dropped on 34's side. At least 75 wasn't able to run off with it yet again. It looks like 34 having control of this mid fight so far. But 75 actually was able to gain control of the Arc here. 75 getting a huge pull here. How is this March able to pull it so far? 34 not focusing down the Arc carrier for about like 5 seconds, 10 seconds there. Able to pull the Arc closer to 75 side. But even though it's closer to 75 side, 34 just have so much mid presence here. I don't know if it'll matter. But look, yet again, 75 showing that their Arc carriers are just faster. Their Arc carriers are just faster to pull the Arc. Let's see. We have a timer here. Is this finally a 34 march? If it's another 75 march, 34 might be in trouble. As, there you go, 34 is actually getting wiped here. Because the marches have to go into 75 deeper and deeper into their territory. And if you don't know, if your march is moving, they actually don't attack back. There's only counterattack damage. Meanwhile, the march attacking you, they have the full damage, they have the scale damage, they have everything. So it's a huge, huge detriment to the marches that have to move out of position. So 34, even though it looked like they won the mid fight, they lost the Arc multiple times. They lost the Arc capture, allowing for 75 to actually start clearing them and start winning this mid fight, even though 34, in my opinion, it looked like they had more numbers. So this is huge for 75 here, because if they capture this Arc, then there's no coming back for 34. This was a must capture, a must win for 34. Because they're losing the structure game, and they're losing the mid fight. Those are the two biggest parts of Arc. If you lose both of them, then you lose Arc. So we'll have to see if 34 is able to, do anything here with this very risky strategy of 75 to continuously capture through the outpost. They don't even have a garrison here. They have a CPO, not even CPO Prime, CPO. So if there's a rally that hits this outpost, oh, there you go. They got the Charles Martel Constantine. So that outpost is garrisoned now. So yeah, I don't know if 34 have a way to come back after losing two mid fights and losing structures simultaneously. It honestly looks like 75 in this first game is outclassing 34 in all aspects right now. Huge stuff from 75, and 34 just have no answers in this game. Will the Arc fall here? The Arc doesn't even fall. Wow. I mean, it is a slow Alex, but this Alex might be able to get the job done here. Looks like there's no rally sets. There's no marches. So this Arc looks safe, giving 75 an even greater point advantage. Meanwhile, 34 was able to stabilize their structures. They were able to take back the shrine. But this is looking really, really tough. Look at that. 10k point differential between the two teams here. Huge for 75. They had positioning advantage, which is why I think the biggest contributor to them winning the mid fight, both in the beginning and also as they pulled the Arc away. Just allowing for them to, you know, have control of that mid fight, even though for a second there, especially with to the death, it looked pretty dicey for 75's mid, but they were able to come back and overall conquer 34's murder ball there. As this Wuzetian looks like it's getting pretty low, but so many 75 marches around here. It looks like, yeah, this Wuzetian got filled, so I think the structure is safe. The Desert Altar should be safe. Although there are a lot of 34 marches coming in. We'll have to see. There you go. Another march just dedicated to filling. Just exactly what you want for your altars. Exactly what you want for your altars. Looks like they got a backup garrison in there too. They got a Constantine garrison now instead of the Wuzetian, which is a good backup. And 34, even though they have a lot of marches coming in, they're all coming in one by one by one by one. There isn't a joint push per se. There isn't a blitz where everyone goes in at once with a rally. Which is actually making their push less effective. It allows for, since there's not 12 marches swarming at a time, it allows for 75 to reinforce, allows them to get the backup garrison. Although the structure looks like it is finally going down here, will this Sun Tzu be able to get in? Sun Tzu? Sun Tzu got in. Oh, we got a El Cid? Oh, is it another Sun Tzu? Another Sun Tzu? It is able to get in. And that's exactly how 75 is able to hold these structures. Scipio? Able to get in. And look, they're march swapping here. This march could even start swarming the opponent here so that they can get home faster. So this structure has been low for so long, but they're able to deny the take for, even though like this structure could have been fallen about like a minute, 2 minutes ago, they're able to preserve 300 points per minute or points because they're able to march swap. Even though the structure will fall, will it fall? That's a real question. But it looks like the structure will fall, especially with the rally now here. They were able to preserve it enough where they're able to get around 300, 450 points that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, which is exactly how they're winning outside of the mid. They're winning these structure battles. Let's see again, another march swap here. Look at that. And look, now the swarmers are getting sad-faced. The rally's getting low. This structure actually might hold. Most teams, this structure would fall, but for 75 DC, this is a masterclass of how to fill a structure in Osiris League. Absolute masterclass. And now 34, they can't send more marches here because they have to start sending marches mid because there's only 4 minutes 20 seconds until Arc spawns. And look at that. 75 having marches around, but they're like, hey, this mid fight's more important. We're gonna just send marches to fill. We're gonna keep our low marches there, but our full marches, let's rotate mid. Let's start rotating mid. This is more important. Understanding what objectives and how much pressure to put in is so important in Osiris League. It looks like 75. Look at, they literally had a bunch of marches here that could have swarmed down these low marches, but they're like, hey, actually, mid is so important here. If we take this arc, we essentially shut them out from coming back into this game, which is more important than, you know, the 150, 300 points that they might have preserved by staying here. And they preserved those points regardless because they had enough presence. So huge stuff from 75. A lot to learn from this game for sure, with how 75 is able to march swap, with how they prioritize objectives, and how important timing is and rotating mid is. As we see 75 and 34 actually having pretty similar positioning here. 75's murder ball actually touching the Temple of Osiris here. But even though, I'd still say the positioning is pretty even. Two minutes 30 seconds until arc spawns. And this arc is so important. You're not gonna see, oh, I was about to say, you're not gonna see that many marches contesting objectives, but it looks like 34 is content with at least trying to come back through structures, but this arc is so important for them. This arc is so important for them. Like, they have so many marches dedicated to swarming down these rallies. But these marches, wait, they had, look at this. They had so many marches dedicated to swarming down that rally. The Desert Altar fell anyways. So these marches are a waste of time, essentially. These 4 marches could have been mid, and the Desert Altar would have fallen anyways. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. The amount of pressure that you put on a structure, the amount of pressure and tempo that you have. These marches, sad facing into this Desert Altar, not contributing to this mid fight. Meanwhile, 75, if we check their structures, everyone's rotating mid except for this outer lane. Everyone's rotating mid. They might lose this Desert Altar, but if they win this mid fight, then it's all that's exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want. So it's all about trading and kind of putting like understanding what position you want to take here. We'll have to see if those 10, 15 marches that 34 could have mid that they put into structures, if that will be the difference of this mid fight. Although starting off, I do like this concave that 34 is building here. I like the marches in the back, distracting some marches. Like, look at these marches back here, only attacking these 3 marches or these 4 marches rather than fighting the murder ball here. I do like the distraction marches from 34. Will 34 be able to win this mid fight even with the numbers disadvantage? 20 minutes until arc spawns. Honestly, it does look like 34 is winning. It's really close right now. It's so hard to tell. 5 seconds until arc spawns. I like 34's positioning a lot better than 75's here. Notice how 75's in the middle and 34 has the concave, has the circle around them. Meaning that all the AoE, as I was saying, is going into 75's marches, but for 34's marches, the AoE of 75 is only going towards one half or the other half. So it effectively cuts off the AoE potential. But 75, yet again, man, these 75 arc carriers are putting in work. Saving this situation for them, making 34 have to push yet again, allowing for 75 to get free hits in. There you go, 34 finally getting a pull, but again, there you go. This is exactly what a good team does, is when you see the timer, you hit the timer march as soon as possible, so that as soon as they get that arc, they just instantly pop, they just instantly drop. But for somehow 75 has just been able to get these pulls. Look at 75 yet again, getting another pull. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like 9 seconds until that march finally died. Like, the arc carriers are who you should be focusing down 100%. But it looks like 34, they had the positioning, they had the numbers, but they didn't get the arc, and they lost the mid fight yet again. They had the positioning. I like the positioning, and the mid fight looked pretty close, but 75 with the pull, just making that whole positioning, the whole mid fight mute. Because 34 had to push into the arc. Huge stuff from 75. Their arc carriers, S tier. Honestly, like they were able to pull the arc so many times, allowing them to win these mid fights so handily. And that's essentially what you're fighting for. A lot of people, they get lost in the sauce. But you have to remember what objective you're fighting for here. It's not to win the mid fight, but rather it's to pull the arc, it's to get control of the arc. What 75 is continuously able to do with their arc carriers. In the meanwhile, 75 also took the Shrine of Life, meaning that they are up double points per minute against 34. So 3 arcs, winning mid fights, and also winning structure game. This first game is looking really rough from 34, and 75 is just performing very well here. We'll have to see how 34 responds in this game, and maybe potentially game 2. As the arc was dropped. If you don't know, if you go into a node as an arc carrier holding the arc, you can drop the arc. It drops the arc, so you can't be in a node with arc. So if you have a better arc carrier, I don't know if Minamoto 1 HP is a better arc carrier. But for example, if you have a really slow Richard, you could drop it and then have a T1 double C, for example, and just pick it up, and it'd probably be faster. So just a tip. As Desert Altar was reconquered by 75, Desert Altar being contested by 75 as well. Well, we'll have to see the difference in the March swap here. So this is a very similar situation that 75 was in. Let's see if the marches are able to get in here and are able to swap. So we have a march here. 1 minute walking away from the Desert Altar, which is getting contested. And there you go. 75 able to take the Desert Altar. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just the timing of the reinforcements from 75 is just so huge. Big stuff from 75. And they're playing like a veteran team. They're playing like a team that's been here before. A team that knows what they're doing. And I'm gonna guess that they had a migration group migrate back to this kingdom with Fa here. So they definitely have experience. And that's proving so vital in these little skirmishes, such as filling the Desert Altar, getting the Temple of Osiris, getting the Arc pull. But those little things is how you win the game. Those little things is how you win the game. And that's how they got a 15k point advantage against 34. Win conditions for 34 at this point it's like, I'm a caster. I'm gonna be real with you guys. It's gonna be very tough for 34 to come back from this game. But if they want to learn something for next game, it would be definitely filling structures. It'd definitely be getting the first pull in this temple. Super important. And it would just be like, you know, trying to, like, what they can do is continue playing the game and then try to kind of work on their structure filling, work on their structure pushes. Because look, they're going in one by one yet again here towards this desert altar. Now the desert altar is looking really low. They don't have a garrison. Actually, they filled it up a little bit here. But yeah, look, the marches are going in one by one. There's no rally alongside it, although I think there was one. But notice how the open field pushed after the rally. You kind of want to push alongside it. It's kind of like a blitz, you know what I mean? So if you have the rally plus 12 marches swarming down a structure, it's way harder to hold than it is if it's just like one by one march. So it does look like they were able to take both shrines though. So 34 able to take both shrines, but they are not able to take their altars. So they are up points per minute, but it's not enough with the deficit that they have in 13 minutes left in the match here. It looks like there will be another mid-fight. So this will be the fourth arc of the game here for 75. If they win it yet again. Very interesting how 75 chooses to instantly cap these arcs. It means that they're very, very confident in their mid game. It means they're super confident in their mid game. And usually what you see is teams, if they continuously opt in and not hold arcs, they usually they're okay with losing their structures because they're gaining a lot of points through these mid fights. But during the mid fights themselves, 75 is actually gaining structures. So even though, in my opinion, I think I've seen more 34 marches outside in these outer lanes trying to hold structures or trying to take structures. 75's has been gaining more structures than they've been losing. So this is game one. Best of 3. So even though this is looking pretty dire for 34, they have 2 games to pull it back. So this series is not over. But this game is looking really, really dominant from 75. Super, super strong showing from them, 100%. Let's see how this mid fight will go. 75 getting the positioning advantage yet again here. And that's what happens when you push objectives while mid spawning, is there's a bunch of marches, as I was referring to, you know, around the structures that you want to hold. So these marches could be walking mid. These marches, they were probably around this desert altar with the positioning that they have, with the trajectory of the line here. They're probably around this desert altar because it's getting contested, allowing for 75 to get mid advantage yet again. Let's see how 75 decide to play this year. Let's check the numbers though. In terms of dots, I don't know if 75 is more murderballed or if 34 has more people, but it looks like from the spread that they have more people. But it might be just because they're like literally right on top of each other. It's kind of indistinguishable. Like both teams probably have even amount of marches here. Shrine of War being contested. Sky Altar being contested. Wow, this Thutmose YSG rally is actually smashing. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see. 1 minute 20 seconds until Arc spawns. The 34 sentries being taken down here. Dust up used by 34. Dust up used by 75. Here we go. Both teams going in. 34, I believe, had an advantage early on. More of their troops started attacking than 75 early. We have to check the dots here. Because these marches in the back, even though these are arc carriers, so it's fine. But like this, for example, this Alex in the back not hitting anything, is really detrimental to Murder Ball. Because you're not really contributing. Heaven's Grace used by 75 here. I like what 34 is doing. They have marches in the back here taking out the arc carriers. Daniel's been a menace this game. Daniel and Lee Kun are the two names that I've been seeing just consistently taking these arcs. So it looks like they got the names down. They're starting to target those marches. Starting to target the arc carriers. But this is what I'm talking about AFK. These marches, they could have been doing DPS, but yeah, they're not contributing to the mid fight, right? So you have to be really, really attentive and making sure that your marches are hitting something. 34 actually getting first tap here. And they actually got a pull. The Alex. Oh, Alex falling. But it is finally on 34's side. It is finally on 34's side. And look at this. 75 have to murder ball up and kind of go into 34's side, but it looks like 34's murder ball is evaporating regardless. Look at the amount of sad faces coming out from 34. And yet again, 75 getting another pull. Look at the sad faces. Oh my goodness. A lot of sad faces coming out. Sad face train coming out from 34. So it looks like they get outmatched in these mid fights. Even though they should have an advantage in terms of the positioning of their marches. 75 just able to out damage them. Able to out mid fight them. And of course, these pulls have been huge within the past couple of mid fights. Daniel yet again with the Belisarius Dragon Lancer, I believe. Emoting out. It's going to be a huge pull. Looks like they are going to the outpost yet again. So 75 winning yet another mid fight. Huge for them. Huge for them. Just showing dominance. I don't know how many games I've seen this season that's had 4 arcs rather. Like it's pretty rare. Because usually if you have an arc, you hold it. And then just try to hold structures and then gain an advantage from the arc that you capture. But 75 being super confident here. Even dropping the arc. Giving it to another player, maybe for an achievement. Well, are they achievement hunting here? 75, dominant display in this match so far. Things they did super well. They were able to take structures during the mid fight. They were able to hold their own structures by march swapping and filling. And they were able to get the Arc of Osiris pulls in mid. And those were huge for a couple of these mid fights. And they were able to overall just win mid fight with the amount of units that they had, the amount of troops, the composition. I think the composition and the march composition for 75 overall, judging by these murder balls, is more potent than 34's. So I think this is 34's first time fighting an opponent that has almost as much power as them. So even though they've been brute forcing and winning these fights, this is the first time where they don't have the advantage in terms of T5, in terms of VIP 18. They do have a power advantage, but 200 million power isn't the end of the world. It's comebackable. And 75 is leveraging that power super well. Just winning out these mid fights. As Arc is going to get captured here. It looks like they had someone filling the structure. The thing that's awkward is if the structure is full, then you actually can't capture the Arc. But there you go. Yet another Arc captured for 75. Some things for next game that 34 could work on is march swapping. Kind of understanding how many marches to place in a structure to hold. Like, I mean, right now it's not too consequential, but you don't need this many marches around a Shrine of War, for example. Like, these marches could have been pushing alongside the rally or something like that. I really like the Thutmose YSG rally that 75 has been using. I think 34 could take a page from that, and if they have a Thutmose YSG rally available, that'd be really good. And just getting arc pulls more consistently in these mid fights would be absolutely huge for them. So both sides super even, both getting same points per minute, but with only 2 minutes to go, I don't think anyone could provision enough to get back from 18. No, is this 18-point difference? I see a lot of Charles out in the open field for 34. And although Charles and Richard is tanky, that might be the reason why they're losing their mid fights. If you check 75, you rarely see a Charles. I haven't seen a Richard from their side. I see a Constantine, but this looks like a Garrison. Their open field marches are skill damage focused. And that's exactly what you need from your open field. Like, I saw 75 using Sun Tzu primary. And even though it's an epic, Sun Tzu primary does a lot of open field damage, skill damage, allowing you to win those murder balls. Richard, Charles, they allow you to stay on the field longer. But if you stay on the field longer, you're not dealing enough damage to actually clear the field. So the damage will outweigh the tankiness. Almost all of the time here. So definitely the march compositions in the open field here. Super advantage. Look, this is what I'm talking about. So many Sun Tzus here. They probably have Charles and they probably have Richard, but they're opting in with the Sun Tzu primary and Mehmed secondary. Is that what I'm seeing? Sun Tzu. It's Sun Tzu with Alex for this march. It's YC with Mehmed. A lot of skill damage. This is the one Charles I've seen from 75. No, Charles is actually... Wait, where's Charles? I'm curious to see what the Charles pair is. But yeah, here we go. This is a Richard. Richard and Charles, they're not going to put any pressure onto an objective, a structure. Charles with Constantine will not scare opponents and it doesn't do anything out in the open field. So the March compositions being a huge factor in this win for 75. So GG's to both teams. 75 showing that they had more experience with the open field marches, with the composition, and you can tell with the total kills, they're able to kill more than 34 was. They were able to win 47k to 28k, 4 arcs, 15k points, winning occupation score. So even if there's no arcs captured, and they also won provisions. So they won all 3 categories here. They did heal more units. They had less power overall than 2934, but huge win from 75. And I'm hoping next week we'll be able to see 34 come back, learn, and punch back against 75. So next week on Sunday, game 2 of the finals will be happening here in the Rise of Kingdoms channel. So don't go anywhere. Be sure to subscribe to the Rise of Kingdoms channel. If you like Rise of Kingdoms content, I am Plato Gaming, a Rise of Kingdoms content creator. The link to my channel is in the description. So it'd be greatly appreciated to check it out and see if you like it. And with that, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.